All right, hello everybody. It is Thursday, July 30th. We are on our way home on a bumpy road. Just left the office downtown. And I'm going to take a different way home today. I'm going to go up the east side. So this is the FDR right here. And this bike lane will go all the way up alongside the river, the East River. And then we'll cut across town and in Midtown go home. But more importantly, I came up with an idea to do this like how-to series for these videos while we're riding along. So my idea was like I could share with you like some quirky how-to things that have nothing to do with biking. And have everything to do with things that interest me, that I know a thing or two about that I could share. And so while I'm biking, I can do that. So with that being said, the first part in our how-to series is something that I'm going to be doing the second I get home tonight, because it's been a long week. I know it's only Thursday, but I could just really use one of these, which is a Manhattan. This is a cocktail. So this is how to make a proper Manhattan. Manhattan is one of the classic cocktails. Simple in a sense that very few ingredients. That are not difficult to find. You can get them anywhere. You don't have to make crazy syrups. And it's not, technically that difficult of a process. But the beauty in it is, just like any other cocktail, or even kind of cooking for that matter, the higher in quality ingredients that you use, and if you follow the proper process, it makes a magnificent cocktail. So I thought I would share with you how to make a proper Manhattan. Step number 1. You do need, so the classic service of this cocktail is in a martini glass. A martini glass, or if you have those cute, like, little coupes, that at some point in time they even used as like champagne glasses. So step number 1 is you take your glassware, which again, just use a martini glass. You want to fill your martini glass entirely with ice, all the way to the top with ice. Then you want to put water into that glass of ice, and then you just let that sit. And what that's going to do is chill your glass to the appropriate temperature that you want to serve your cocktail in, which I think technically is 23 degrees. I think it's 23 degrees. There used to be a bar in Boston, I think it was called 23 degrees, and the name basically referred to that. But in any case, so ice water is the best way to go because it brings your glass temperature down pretty rapidly. You could also get the same effect if you kept your glass in a freezer. But of course, keeping stemware in a freezer is not all that practical because it takes up a lot of space and you don't want to break it. There's nothing worse than broken glass in a freezer. So, solution, take ice water, or fill your martini glass with ice water. And it only takes just a couple of minutes, literally the time that it takes to make the cocktail. Your glass will be perfectly chilled. So that's step number 1. Step number 2. Well, actually, before I get to step number 2, let's make sure we have all of our ingredients. So we have our proper glassware. The ingredients, very simple. Whiskey of your choice. But again, the higher quality ingredients that you use, the better the cocktail will be. And this is where you can also like play around with different variations. But the classic service is whiskey, American whiskey. Whether you want to use bourbon or rye, but I've certainly played around with like Japanese whiskeys. We sell some French whiskeys that I've played around with. Single malts, not so much, only because single malts generally, this is a very bumpy roadway. Single malts generally have, they use peat. They have this like peated characteristic that I don't think necessarily plays with all that well with the other ingredients in the cocktail. So I'll stay away from scotches or single malts. But blended whiskeys of any kind, really. So again, anything you want to use. So you've got your whiskey. You also need sweet vermouth, red sweet vermouth. The one that you can probably find no matter where you're at, the highest quality one that you can find no matter where you're at, is Carpano. The Antica formula. It comes in this cute bottle. It's kind of got like this brown label. But again, you can play around with different types of vermouth. I would say probably go with the red sweet vermouth. And then finally, or two more things. Then you've got bitters. So Angostura bitters are going to be your go-to classic choice and probably the ones that are easiest to find. But again, there's a whole host of different kinds of bitters, different bitter flavor profiles. Some use, they focus on a particular flavor, like maybe orange. And there's different quality levels, different brands, different producers. The classic general style of bitters is Angostura, which you should be able to find, whether it's at, your liquor store or grocery store, depending on your state. And then brandied cherries. If you can find really nice, good brandied cherries, even better. If you can't find anything else, you can just use maraschino cherries. you know, those red ones that are, you know, super sweet, and like super bright red. But if you can find some like nice, high quality brandied cherries, or brandies that are like soaking in whiskey or something like that, that would be ideal. But those are your 4 ingredients. That's it. So back to the process. So we've already got step 1 down. We're chilling our glass in ice water. Step number 2, you want to take a cocktail shaker or just like a big pint glass, because you're not actually going to shake this cocktail. It's going to be stirred, but a shaker works without, you know, the top. And the first thing that you want to put into your shaker is the dash or 2 of bitters. So don't go crazy with bitters, because a little bit really goes a long way. I always kind of suggest, like, if it's like your first time playing around with this, or first time like experimenting with bitters, to really just start with 1 dash. You can always add more, but you can't take the bitters out once they're in. So and like I said, a little bit will go a long way, and it can be quite deceiving. So really a dash is like a shake, right? You just like shake it in. So if you want to do 2, 1, if you're super ambitious, if you like the flavor of bitter things, 1, 2, 3, that's too much for me, but you do you. So that's the first thing that you want to put into your shaker. Then you want to take your measuring device, whether that's a jigger or the cap of your shaker can also be used as a measuring device, because at this point you're just doing parts, so it doesn't have to be an exact like 1 or 1.5 or 2 ounce measurement. So you could just use your cap. This is really tight in here and not really helpful. Okay, and we're back on track. All right, so I hope I don't have another flat again. No, I think I'm okay. All right, so the next thing that you want to put into your shaker, in addition to the bitters, is going to be the vermouth. So if you're making, I'm just going to give you these are all the ingredients for 1 cocktail. So double if you're making 2. But it's going to be 1 part vermouth to 2 parts your whiskey, your choice of whiskey. So, like I said, you either take the cap of your shaker, or if you have a jigger or a shot glass, you can use that to measure, as long as it's 1 vermouth and then 2 shots, ounces, whatever it is, of whiskey. And you want to go in the order of vermouth first and then your whiskey, because the vermouth has a higher viscosity because there's sugar left in the juice, so it's going to cloy to the jigger or to the cap that you're using to pour it in. So you add that first, and then you measure in your whiskey, because the whiskey, super high alcohol, will clean out the rest of that vermouth that's sitting on the rim of the cap. I hope this makes sense. It makes sense to me. Anyway, so You got the 1 part now of vermouth, 2 parts of the whiskey of your choice, and now you're ready to rock and roll. So now in your shaker, you have those 3 ingredients. So what you add to that is ice. And I don't mean just a few cubes of ice. Like, you want to completely cover the liquid with ice. So make sure that the ice is like well over top of how much ever liquid. So again, if you're only just making 1 cocktail, maybe that's 1 scoop of ice. If you're doing 2 cocktails, maybe it's 2 or 3 scoops of ice. Whatever it is, but you definitely want more ice to liquid. So you put your ice in your shaker, or again in your pint glass, whatever you're using. And then, like I said, this is not a shaken cocktail, this is a stirred cocktail. Generally speaking, when you're making cocktails with brown spirits, you stir them. And generally speaking, when you're making cocktails with clear spirits, you shake them. That's a total generalization, so it's not a rule by any means. But in this case, when you're making Manhattan, it's a stirred cocktail. So if you have a bar spoon, fantastic, use that. Otherwise, if you don't have a bar spoon, I actually suggest using a butter knife. A bar spoon is, like you would imagine, is a spoon, but the handle is kind of like this like twisted thing. And so what you're able to do is kind of go like this and really stir the ice using the spoon. But with just like a regular spoon that you use for like cereal or soups or whatever, they generally have a flat handle, so you can't do this to it. And what you end up doing is you end up clashing with the liquid, because what you want to do is make kind of like have a whirlpool effect when you stir. So that's why I say, what I find, if you don't have an actual bar spoon, that's fine, but don't go to just like a regular spoon. Actually use a butter knife, because you'll have the ability to better create this whirlpool effect. The reason that's important is because you don't want, while you're stirring, you don't want to break the ice and chip the ice. Helicopter pad. So, what was I saying? Yeah, breaking the ice. You don't want to break the ice. Or chip the ice. And that's what happens when you don't have this like proper whirlpool effect. And that's also the primary difference and reason that you don't shake the cocktail. When you shake a cocktail, that's exactly what you're doing. You're literally chipping and breaking the ice as it shakes in the shaker. And again, generally speaking, with brown spirit, you don't want to do that, because you don't want to add extra water into the liquid, because it kind of clashes. But with clear spirits, again, total generalization, but that's okay, and actually sometimes intended to incorporate the other ingredients and create this kind of like almost frothy effect. But that's this whole deal about why shaken versus stirred, or why stirred versus shaken. So, all right, so you're stirring. And this, doesn't have to take all that long. You could stir for, you could just stir for a minute, maybe, not even. And then you're pretty much ready to go. So now what you want to do is go back to your glassware, your martini glass, or your coupe, or whatever you're using. Dump out the ice water that's in there. Now your glass should be perfectly chilled. And I guess I'll go down 40. I want to go down 40 seconds? No, I don't. I'll go down 43rd. Okay. So you dump out the ice water. That's when you take your cherry, your brandied cherry or maraschino cherry, and you put that in your glass, right in the bottom. And then you strain your cocktail into the glass. So again, if you're using a shaker, oh, that's nice. That's a very nice thing. So now you strain your cocktail into your glass with the cherry. And so if you're using a shaker, you just use the top to that shaker. If you're not using a shaker, you're just using a pint glass, you can also use like another glass to kind of hold the ice back. So it takes a little bit more skill. Or if you have one of those strainers that you literally fits perfectly right on top of a shaker or a pint glass, even better. But basically you don't want any ice in your cocktail with the cherry in your chilled glass. And once that's in, then that's it. There's your Manhattan. Cheers. And I missed my turnoff, so I'm gonna have to go on 45th now, because I was not paying attention. But yeah, so that's how you make a proper Manhattan. It's actually quite simple. I took a very long time explaining it, but that's also because I was riding, slightly winded, and distracted by loud noises like helicopters and cars and trains and buses here in New York, in Manhattan. But I hope you learned something about that. If anything, just what a Manhattan was. But even if you already knew what a Manhattan was, maybe the proper way of actually making it and why that's important. And yeah, that's, like I said, that's exactly what I'm going to be having when I get there. It's on my mind, as was this whole how-to video series thing. So that's that. I already have some ideas for some other how-to videos, but if you have any ideas, I'm certainly open to suggestions. So if you're watching this, if you're still watching this, you can just leave them in the comments, and I would be happy to do some more how-tos. In the meantime, what else is going on? Nothing else is really going on here. What else to say? As you can kind of see, the city is getting a little bit busier, traffic-wise at least. I think I'm gonna do this. This is what I'm gonna do. Go this way. Last minute idea, something I want to do. This is another entrance to Grand Central. I want to do this. I want to go up here. I love this little ride. There's not much traffic. We'll be able to do it. All right. Clear roadway. MetLife building, the old Pan Am. I think it's so cool up here. I like that little ride. Nice little workout. Ooh, I'm winded. Connolly's. Feel the magic between you and I. Oh, that's a good song. And we're back home. All right, y'all, thanks for riding along. Again, I hope you enjoyed the how to make a proper Manhattan video. And I'll catch y'all later. All right, bye.